Microphone check from the Phoenix Room. This is a microphone check from the Phoenix Room.
Oh, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's now 1:31. It's July 13th. And welcome. We're in a new setting for now. And for the commission members, we're going to try and use the new electronics here to do our voting. We won't raise hands. I will let you know how that will go, but right now, let's try it. So does it come up there? Yes, abstain, and no?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're gonna stop that. Cancel. We'll get back to there at some point. But, all righty. So first up on the agenda, the approval of minutes. This is the June 8th, 2023 minutes. Floor is open for a motion. Ms. Meyer?
I move for approval of the June 8th, 2023 minutes as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. And let's vote via the new system. How do we say this? Is it Sure? That's the brand? That's what's on there. Okay. You got it, Bruce? Did you vote? Okay, good. All right. Motion passes with 8 votes. Thank you.
So you can see it down your way.
Yes. Yeah. Can you not see it yet?
Oh, now we can.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good deal. Good deal. All righty. Next up, I want to kind of skip through. We have performance bonds and letters of credit. If we would, that's on page 8, item C. The floor is open for the approval of the performance bonds and letters of credit. Mr. Mickler?
I move to approve the performance bonds and letters of credit.
Okay. Oh,
Second.
Ms. Worth beat you there. So we, okay, we got a motion and a second. Please vote via the system here. Okay, motion passes with 8 votes. That. Boom. All righty. Thank you. Any postponements and withdrawals? Staff? Not seeing any? Oh, we do? Yes, Mr. Murphy?
Chairman, on page 6, item, Thank you. Item F, PLN MJDP 2330, Kingston Hall, Unit 1, Lot 8, amended, 1061 Providence Place Parkway. I represent the developer on there. We are still working on revising our plan, and we know that needs to go back through the subcommittees, so we're requesting a 1-month postponement on that.
Okay, and that's the August 10th meeting?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Murphy? All right, thank you. Any questions of that recommendation? If none, the floor is open for a motion. Okay, Ms. Meyer, did you, I'm sorry, I thought I saw
It's
your
okay.
hand.
Well, I'll move for postponement of PLN and JDP 30 Kingston Hall as requested by the applicant.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Worth. Please vote. Okay, motion passes. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Murphy. Okay, are there any other? Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I'm Mark McIntosh with Vision Engineering. On page 5, bottom of the page, it's Development Plan 2329, Red Mile, mixed-use development. We'd like to request a 1-month postponement. We're scaling back on the number of townhomes in the project, so we're trying to decide whether to go forward or not.
Okay,
But that'd be a 1-month postponement until August 10th.
okay, thank you. Ms. Worth?
Mr. Chair, I move for postponement of PLN MJDP 2329 Red Mile Mixed Use Development to August 10th as requested by the applicant.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion? I mean, excuse me, a second on that motion? Seconded by Ms. Meyer. Please vote via the system here. All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay. All righty. Are there any others?
Yes, staff has several items.
Okay,
Such a new layout.
I know.
I'm used to staying there. Yeah, we have several to bring to your attention, Mr. Chairman. The first item is on page 3, under your development plans. Item A, this is Major Development Plan 18-4, Triple Stars property. This will be the 7th postponement for these gentlemen. Received an email from them saying they are 100% for sure going to be ready to go in 30 days. They're very confident. They haven't pulled anything off yet, but again, they did respond with a request for a 1-month postponement.
Okay. Okay, the floor is open for a motion. Mr. Davis?
Mr. Chairman, I move for a 1-month postponement of PLN MJDP 18-4 to our August 10th.
All right, yes, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Second by Mr. Bell. Please vote via the system. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
The next item on your agenda is on page 4 for postponement. This is item B at the top of the page. This is Major Development Plan 22-45, Distillery District West, U-Haul. Staff has been in communication with the applicant's attorney, and they're requesting an indefinite postponement at this time so they can continue to work on issues that they have on that site. As you're all aware, there's floodplain issues on the site as well as use issues, et cetera. And they are continuing to work on that, but they have requested an indefinite postponement.
Okay. The floor is open.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Bell?
move for an indefinite postponement without work. PLN MJDP 2245, Distillery District West, U-Haul.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second by Ms. Worth. Please vote via the system here. Motion passes unanimously.
And moving along with postponements on page 7, item G. This is Major Development Plan 23-32, the Homer Ratliff property, and this happens to be the Distillery District East as opposed to the west where U-Haul is. And they are requesting a 1-month postponement. There's some interesting issues on this property. Zoning compliance, conditional zoning issues popped up, requires some legal evaluation. They're in the process of hiring legal representation to look into that issue. So they're requesting a 1-month postponement on that plan as well.
Okay. The floor is open for a motion for the 1-month postponement. Yes,
Move
Mr.
to
Pope.
postpone PLN MJDP 2332 Homer Ratliff for 1 month.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Second by Ms. Meyer. Please vote via Granicus. Oh, sorry, system. It's hard. Yeah. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
All righty, and Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, on page 8. Item H, Major Development Plan 23-37, Newtown Corporation Industrial Park. They have requested a 1-month postponement because they have design issues they're continuing to work on this property. It's a mini warehouse development, and they've got some design and some issues with it that they're still working on. So they requested a 1-month postponement.
Okay. The floor is open for a motion. Mr. Mickler?
I move to postpone PLN MJDP 23-37 Newtown Corporation Industrial Park to the August 10th meeting.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Yes.
Seconded by Ms. Worth. Please vote via the system. It's a little different. Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. That was a good trial.
And that's it for
That's
staff.
it? All righty. So it should put us on page 2, under final subdivision plans, PLN FRP 2315, Peninsula Lot 2.
Here we go. We're here looking at Plan FRP 2315, the Peninsula Lot 2. Okay, this is located off of Squires and Peninsula Way. We have an area right here, we had a development plan in for townhomes. And so they have come in, with a final record plat to subdivide it into these individual townhomes. With that, they have an access easement that's going to lead in through here to create frontage for these lots. That's why you'll also have a copy of a finding for your approval. So with this, we have our typical sign-off conditions as listed here. Engineering, Traffic Office, Forester, Bike, Green Space, Utilities, U.S. Postal Service, and then the idea of making a finding. All these townhomes here and these homes here will all have street frontage, but the ones in the rear will have it off of the access easement. And we've done this in other areas too. So with that, we have a recommendation of approval. Make sure that they have an easement maintenance note as to who's going to maintain this access easement. It's in an HOA area because all the area surrounding the townhomes is HOA. So it'll all be maintained by the HOA. So with that, I'll open it to you all if there's any other comments or questions.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions for staff? Yes, Mr. Mickler.
Yeah, I have a question. On the staff recommendations, there's a item 14, resolve pedestrian facilities for all dwelling units. Just out of curiosity, what was the discussion on that?
Wait a minute. We're on Peninsula on page 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's why I'm in the wrong recommendations then. Well, that'll answer that question. Never mind.
I'm usually the one
So
who
you-
does that.
Are you withdrawing that question?
Yeah, I withdraw that question.
Okay.
Okay,
No other questions? Okay.
not seeing any. Thank you. Applicant?
Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, Rory Cayley with EA Partners. We understand the conditions as well as the findings and request approval.
How you doing, Ms. Cayley?
Good.
Any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, sir. All right.
Thank you.
Are there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this particular application? Please do so by coming up to the podium. All righty. Well, then the floor is open for a motion. Yes, Mr. Davis?
Can this be done in the form of one motion, or do we need one for the plan itself and one for the findings?
Can we include the findings with your motion? I got head shaking, yes, but no. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Then, Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of PLN FRP 2315, including the staff report, the finding for use
Okay,
of an
thank you.
access easement.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Do we have a second? Seconded by Ms. Worth. Oh,
No, that's okay. Yes.
my eyes was on you, I'm sorry. Okay. All right, so we're going to vote via the system here. All righty, and that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Since that put us on PLN FRP 23-16, Melrose Edition.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, that item is in fact a final record plat that's been brought to you. It is the Melrose Edition, Block E and J. This is a area, right here, this, they're proposing to subdivide this parking lot. It's associated with the church in this location. This is Thompson Road down to Manchester Street. Here's the borough. And then, of course, Thompson goes on up and heads out to Leestown Road. This is our recycling center, the government recycling center right here. This subdivision of this parking lot has come about through the ongoing discussions to address some parking issues that exist in this area due to the success of the borough and the fact that they have a lot of shows and a lot of activities and that sort of thing. And you all have heard about this. You know that in this area there have been parking issues and conflicts. So the church had entered into negotiations with the borough, and they are subdividing this property roughly right through here to allow that to be sold to the borough for additional parking. It is zoned I-1. The entire lot itself, the original lot in this property, actually has R1C, B1, and then this industrial I-2 area that, of course, is associated with the original zoning for much of this area because it was an industrial area. There's no development plan required in this case, and one does not exist. I-1, what's interesting about this and this small little subdivision to create this, again, it meets the regs in terms of size, frontage, that sort of thing. However, the sanitary sewer, of course, is an issue. That's the subject of the waiver. The sewer system, the closest manhole is up in this area. It would require significant on-site, off-site work to provide public sewer per the land subdivision regulations to this lot that's being created. And since it's a parking lot, there's really no need at this time for sanitary sewer. So staff has reviewed this, and we're recommending approval of the waiver, again, to create this lot. There you go. That kind of shows you a little bit better. Existing church, the subdivision, and again, the Y in the road. And as I said, there's public sewer all the way up in here, a manhole that they would have to try to get to. And again, we're recommending approval subject to the conditions you can see on the report, which includes that they need to denote clearly on the plan that should Lot 2 be developed in the future for any use other than a parking lot, then public sanitary sewer service shall be provided to the approval of the Division of Engineering and the Division of Water Quality. So that's a flag. Should, in the future, something happen, that property, somebody, wants to buy the property and put something on there, well, they're going to have public sewer. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the final record plat. You can see there were very few conditions other than standard sign-offs along with the waiver. And then we are asking that they clearly denote access into the parking lots on this final record plat.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions for staff? That's okay, Mr. Martin. No questions. Applicant.
Okay. I wasn't sure if this gentleman. There we go. Here we go. He's not the surveyor that did the work. He's out of town on a vacation. So.
Chairman, Planning Commission, we just ask you to approve what he's just put before you. I'm the pastor of Thompson Road Baptist Church, Don Hamilton. So if you have any questions, we'll try to answer those for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions? Okay, Pastor. Thank you. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this particular application? Please do so by stepping up to the podium. If not, the floor is open for a motion. And remember, we do have the waiver. Yes, Ms. Meyer.
Mr. Chair, I move for approval of PLN FRP 2316 Melrose Edition Block E and J with the 13 conditions, and also recommend accepting the findings for the waiver. of the land subdivision regulations.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second? Seconded by Ms. Barksdale. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote via the system here. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, so that's put us next, still on page 2, PLN FRP 23-17, Wendell subdivision.
And you also should have a copy of findings for an access easement on this one also. This property is, this is Clays Mill Road, Higbee Mill Road. This property is located right here at the end of Higbee Mill and Cornwall. We have Man o' War Boulevard coming around here. They have a development plan in for townhomes in this area. Oh, another thing is, we have floodplain. I needed to point that out. We have floodplain, and they are working on a LOMAR at this time, and I'll let you have him explain that, because that's one of the conditions as to where they are in the process. But you can see they had the townhomes. Oops, there we are. This is Man o' War, and these are the townhomes. We have a floodplain shown coming through and picking up these last couple townhomes. And so they're working on a LOMAR at this time, and that is one of the conditions, is to resolve the status of the LOMAR. So with this, they'll have an HOA for all the open area, and then you can see there's a driveway, an access easement, which will be on the front of all these townhomes, and that's where they'll have access. They will not have access on Higbee Mill Road itself, but on the access easement. So with that, you'll see that we have our typical sign-offs. The first, 9 are typical sign-offs. We just asked for adjoining street and property and boundaries with dash lines, provided that you all make a finding for the use of an access easement for their frontage. And then the last condition was to resolve the status of the LOMAR. They have been working on it, and where they are in the process, I'm not quite sure. That's something the engineer can really answer for you. So with that, I'll open it to you all to see if there's any other comments or questions.
Okay, any questions for staff? All right, thank you. Applicant?
Yeah, Chairman, members of the commission, I'm Mark McIntosh with Vision Engineering. The LOMAR is a letter of map revision, and through FEMA, that's works with as-built plans and drawings. So we need the townhomes to move further, kind of complete, the parking, those type of details before a LOMAR is provided to FEMA. So it's just the steps are taking place. But we have a finished floor elevation set on each of these lots, and that's through our design drawings and design calculations. But we're agreeable to the presentation that Cheryl provided and staff provided, and the report, the findings that was provided for the access easement.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for the applicant? Okay. Mr. Bell?
There were some questions in our subdivision committee.
Are you on? Your red light's not on.
It's on here, so I don't know what's. Anyway, so y'all had some questions. Cheryl or somebody had some questions.
If I'm not mistaken. Thank you. Do y'all recall anything, staff, on the LOMAR? Yeah, no. Good, that's all. Do you remember?
I think as I recall, it was discussion about the building of the townhomes before the process and how the LOMAR all fit into that.
That's, as I recall, as long as staff's happy, I'm happy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do
Yeah, what I'm
beyond that.
remembering is that the major issues got addressed in the Clomar, and the rest of it was just procedural after the fact. Am I remembering that correctly? Okay.
Right, the Clomar, their certificate of letter map of revision was provided in 2018, which allowed us to move forward with
Right.
the design plans.
Okay.
And you said, but just to remember, I'm remembering correctly, that these townhomes, we built at a higher elevation than normal, just to protect in case there is higher water in the area. Is that right?
Right, at least a couple feet above that. So.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Mickler.
That's.
You fine?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
You okay? Okay.
That comes back, the higher elevation.
Mr. Mickler.
Yeah, and this is just sort of a question out of interest. Did you all, or there probably have been discussions about access to South Elkhorn Creek as a amenity, as well as not just for the floodplain, but as a open
Yeah,
space or greenway
that's a good
amenity?
question. We can speak to the home builder, Mr. Atkins, about what he can provide there. This is a plat, so I'm not sure if we had those details on the development plan, but.
Sure.
But yeah, that's a really good question and should be explored. So.
Thanks.
Thank you. I don't see any more questions, sir. Thank you. Thanks for the
Okay,
applicant. Mhm.
thank you.
All righty. Do we have anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this particular application? Okay. If not, we'll bring it back to the commission. The floor is open for a motion. And we do have the finding for the easement.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I move for approval of PLN FRP 2317, including the staff report on the finding for the use of an access easement.
Thank you.
Second.
Then we have a second by Mr. Bell. Please vote. Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. So now, put us on page 4. PLN MJDP 22-85, South End Park, Unit 2.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this is a major development plan that you all saw just recently. It's been brought back to you as a continued discussion item. This, as you can see, is, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Here we go. Oliver Lewis Way, as it heads down towards South Broadway, Scott Street, DeRudy, and this is, of course, the Davis Bottom, so it's been redeveloped and it is in the process of being redeveloped. And this is the area on the development plan where there's mixed use, and this is the area of the apartments. Of course, as you know, Scott Street is the last phase of the transportation system that's intended to cross over Broadway and go on down someday in the future. Now, here is the final development plan. Again, this was the mixed-use building where they're going to have classrooms and training, and they added a unit, and you can see access. None of this has changed. None of this has changed. The number of units, 72 units, 132 bedrooms, nothing's changed. Here's your sound wall back in here. Again, parking access, the buildings are everything. An interesting little situation popped up in that group residential projects are governed by the underlying zone that they're located in, R3, R4, that sort of thing. And they also fall under Article 9, group residential projects. Article 9 allows a FAR bonus, but you have to go through a public notification process to get that. And they had accounted for that in their site statistics, but the underlying zone, they did not meet. They exceeded the underlying zone, the R3 zone, in terms of their FAR, floor area ratio. That's the total square footage of the buildings. It's not the lot coverage, that's just the footprint. So we talked with them about that and how best to rectify it. And so they purchased a little additional acreage from the owner, the nonprofit, the Land Trust. So they've added this chunk of open space right in here, and that's allowed them to bring their numbers into compliance. And that's why they're here before you today to get your approval on this plan that now has the additional acreage and will meet the FAR under the R3. Be happy to answer any questions you may have for staff.
Any questions for staff? Yes, Mr.
I
Nichols.
do have a question, Mr. Martin. So we're looking at a project that is a affordable housing project in Davis Bottom. They did not meet the floor area ratio, even though we approved this. And in order to rectify that, the affordable housing developer is required to purchase a third of an acre?
They're required to meet the requirement.
Okay,
And to do that, they purchased some additional land.
Got you.
So that they could meet the requirement.
okay.
Yeah.
Tell them the other option. They do have a different option.
Well,
Article 9, but.
under Article 9, they have an option. Again, they have to go through a public input process and notify people. And then, yeah, and they're not allowed to vary open space in that regard either dimensionally. So, again, they just added a little bit of acreage and.
So this was,
Yeah, so, and now they comply.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, see, Article 9, by the way, that provision is in the infill and redevelopment that allows that additional FAR. And that's to encourage this sort of development, but just a little glitch in the process.
All right.
They found a very nice way
Yes.
to deal with it. There's a little bit of, nice little chunk of open space right there, and
Perfect, thank you.
So I think we were told this is a subdivision committee, but since this is affordable housing, how many new units are we adding here?
they have a total of 72 units, 132 bedrooms, and that's the original numbers. Those have not changed.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Martin. I think we're good to go. Applicant?
I am Clay Johnson with Prime Engineering. I'm here for the applicant. We just want to concur with what the planning staff presented, and thank you all for working with us to find a good solution. And we have nothing else to add, but we can answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Any questions? Not seeing any. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this particular application? If not, the floor is open for a motion. Mr. Nichol?
All right, I'm going to provide recommend a motion to approve PLN in MJDP 22-85 with the findings provided.
Okay, with the, thank you, sir. No findings, just the.
The waiver, sorry.
11 recommendations. No
11
waiver either.
recommendations, all right.
Yeah. I think you and Robin been at the same place before y'all got here. Okay, do we have a second to that motion? Seconded by Ms. Barksdale. Please vote. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Johan. Keep up the good work. And that should put us on page 5, PLN MJDP 23-22, Glen Creek, Dove Creek. We do have revised staff recommendations for this as well.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. This property is, this is Armstrong Mill. It comes in off of Appian Way. And then we have Appian Crossing coming through here. They have been developing this rear portion of the property. We've had this plan in the Division of Planning it started about 20 years ago. So they started it back in here, and since then there's been some additional townhomes built. But since they're coming in to finish out the rest of it, let's see here, you can see they're coming in to finish and complete it with some additional townhomes. And so with that, they've been working hard to make sure they get through and pick up our new ordinance regulations with 16, 18, and 20. So you can see they have an open space area here. And then they've also are creating another access point to get out of here, because at this time there's only one access point in. So with the addition of the additional units They will have another access point that'll come down to Jones Trail, which will bring them back out here to Appian Crossing Way. So with that, you can see that they have revised conditions. We just have the first 12 are just our typical sign-offs. We just want to verify the correct the number of dwelling units in the site statistics. And number 14, at the subdivision committee, we had discussed, but what it was is resolve. It is now resolved facilities for the dwelling units, pedestrian facilities. They have included a sidewalk in front of all the units so that everybody has access to get to the park. And they also have access to get out to Jones Trail, should they want to walk down Jones Trail. So that was the question with pedestrian facilities, and they have come in and they have made that revision so that everybody will have a sidewalk to get somewhere. If there's any other comments or questions?
Cheryl, how many units are going to be added here?
There's 60, I think it's 68, no, 48, right? 48 units. It was 68 on the other side, I'm sorry.
All those units are what we're seeing in the dark?
Yes. The new units are these in here.
Okay.
These all have been built over the last 20 years. It also included a portion of townhomes over in this area, which is off of Takes Creek Road, off of Jones Trail, or Jonestown Trail, and Lady Di, because years and years and years ago, the idea was this was to be connected over to this area, but because they have a floodplain and a large green open space area, that was never done, and so they've separated the two. But these have been built for a while, and then all this has been built, and now they're coming in to complete the property and finish it with some additional townhomes.
Okay. Any additional questions? Not seeing any. Thank you. Applicant?
Good afternoon. I'm Billy Motch with Element Design, and we're just here to request approval. I think Cheryl's covered all the things that we've been working through with them.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Are
welcome.
there any questions for the applicant at this moment? Not seeing any. Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
You're welcome. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this particular application? Okay, then we'll bring it back to the commission. The floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move for approval of PLN MJDP 2322 Glen Creek with the recommended 14 conditions.
Okay, thank you. Got a second by Mr. Bell. Please vote. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Now should put us on page 8. Under commission items, we got a PFR 2023-3 Hope Center.
All right, good afternoon. This is a public facility review for an addition and renovation of the existing Hope Center facility located at 360 West Loudon Avenue. The site is located here, sort of generally between Newtown Pike here and North Broadway, shown off screen over here, directly adjacent to the R.J. Corman rail. We've got the BCTC campus here. Across the street is the North Side YMCA, and then some additional Hope Center properties located to the east and residential to the south. Staff has evaluated this application within the second-tier urban place type and the medium-density non-residential mixed-use development type of the comprehensive plan based on this location. The existing structure was constructed in the early 90s by the LFUCG to be operated by the Hope Center to coordinate and provide services for the homeless. The existing structure contains space for 200 clients who sleep at the emergency shelter each night, and they also provide meals to those staying at the shelter, and they operate 24 hours a day. So earlier this year, the Hope Center received ARPA funding to construct an additional supportive transitional shelter for men with mental illness and substance abuse issues, as well as for veterans who are homeless. So they are coming to us with a proposal for a new addition. So you see the existing, where am I? There we go. The existing structure here, and then the addition proposed here. So the existing structure, and we'll zoom in a little bit to see a little closer. The existing structure is 18,656 square feet with an area of 1,959 square feet to be renovated. Then they're proposing an additional 18,674 square feet, a two-story addition. Currently, they have 24 parking spaces and sort of a circular driveway. They are proposing to have 44 parking spaces in 2 parking areas, so one over here and then one over here. So staff does find that this project is in agreement with the comprehensive plan. The proposal is in agreement with a number of the place builder criteria for that medium density non-residential place type or development type within the second tier urban place type. The construction will be an appropriate scale for the neighborhood. The use is a neighborhood serving use that has a specific need, and it allows for the continued use of a viable existing structure. However, there are several place builder criteria that staff found this plan does not address, and staff does recommend that the Hope Center consider modifying the proposal to respond to the following criteria. So those are ADS 5-3, which says that building orientation should maximize connections with the surrounding area and create a pedestrian-friendly atmosphere. The proposed layout does not include pedestrian connections between the buildings and the rights-of-way, including West Loudon and the Legacy Trail. So I'll go back to the site plan real quick. They do have pedestrian walkways around the building and things like that, but they don't connect all the way up to the trail. So staff is recommending that they comply with the regulations in Article 16 that require internal pedestrian walkways in both parking areas to meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance. Additionally, the building entrance does not face the public right-of-way. You can see that the entrance doors are located along this facade here. So staff is recommending modification to the structure to include some sort of pedestrian scale feature in this vicinity here. That could include a canopy and transparent fenestration, and also a pedestrian entrance that is facing the right-of-way and lining up with the Legacy Trail access that goes right here. The other criteria from place builder that is not being met here is ADS 7-1, and that says that parking should be oriented to the interior or rear of the property for non-residential or multifamily developments, and also ADS 7-2, which says any non-residential parking lot not buffered by a building should be screened from the streetscape view. They obviously don't have a lot of room to put the parking behind the structure, but they do have enough space to meet the landscaping requirements of Article 18 for vehicular use areas. So staff is recommending that they do utilize Article 18. There is a note on the plan that says that they plan to be in accordance with Article 18, but some of the things that they're showing on the plan are not consistent with the current regulations. So we just want to make sure that they are in agreement with that. So with that, I'll open up to any questions that you have.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Do we have an applicant? Mr. Hope Center representative is here? Okay.
I'm Chris Mitchell with Palmer Engineering. I'm representing the Hope Center, and I'm the applicant on the project. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Also have the architect, Celia Moore, with Integrity Architecture here to answer any questions as well.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
I have a question about the parking, the number of parking spaces. How did you come up with that number? I mean, is there a need for that many parking spaces?
Well, we worked with the architect on what, I guess, what parking needs there probably were for the expansion, and sort of how we came up with the parking numbers based on the additional staff and space for that the expansion is going to provide.
So it's mainly staff.
I believe so. Yes. Yeah. That number is. There's not very many residents that drive, so it's mainly for staff.
It just seems like a lot of parking spaces to me, but you know the numbers better than I do.
And we're gonna address, like with Article 18, our landscape ordinance, we're gonna address that, and it may shave some parking spaces down because of providing ILA, so we'll be looking at that in our next stage of development of the full design. So we'll, number will probably come down.
Okay. All right. I see. Oh, let's go ahead, Mr. Mickler.
Well, would you mind speaking to the observations about the building orientation and the entrance being parking lot oriented instead of street oriented?
Can I bring up my architect to discuss that?
Yes, you may.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can we bring the visual back up too?
Hi, I'm Celia Moore with Integrity Architecture. So the reason the building had to be oriented this way is due to the triangular shape of the site. And that was really the only way that we could get windows into all of the units. And the Hope Center wanted 3 distinct entrances, one for if you're coming in a crisis, you have a special way of intaking into the building, as well as a staff entrance, and then a special entrance for the veterans units. So that gave us the opportunity to kind of create just wayfinding for 3 different areas instead of on the end, which it just did get very tight, especially with the setback there at the front.
Thank you for the explanation.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, so the veterans units are separated physically or just, located in an area together away from the other residents?
The veterans units are all on the 2nd floor, except for the one that is ADA compliant, which is on the 1st floor.
Okay.
And then the other back half, essentially, of the 1st level is all the emergency shelter units.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I don't see any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any public comments? No? Okay. Then the floor is open.
Just need a motion to accept the
Just,
report.
yes. Ms. Worth?
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the report of PFR 2023-3 from the Hope Center Facilities Review of the Expansion.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Meyer. Please vote. I'm missing one person. Who didn't vote? Everybody click. And 9. 4, 5, 6, 7. We got 9. I'm only showing 8. All right. There was me. Ooh, man. I guess I'm been. Ooh, can't say nothing to you now, Robin. All right. You're gonna have, I know. Okay, so Tracy, Ms. Wade, let you have at it.
Yes, Chairman Forrester, our next item for the commission to consider is initiation of 2 text amendments on page 9. The first is a request from the Division of Engineering to update our land subdivision regulations for sureties, specifically kind of combining and condensing the way it's worded now. It talks about taking down the surety in steps, like it lists 4 or 5 different steps. And the Division of Engineering doesn't actually utilize that many steps in doing it, or if they do, it's in a little bit different process. So they've asked us to, or the commission to consider updating the regulations to match the process that they're using today. So then we'll bring that back. Instead of a ZOTO coming to the zoning committee, it would come to the subdivision committee to consider for a subdivision regulation amendment.
Okay. Any questions? All right. I'm not saying anything.
Okay, so we just need the commission to initiate that
Okay.
request.
Yes, Mr. Davis.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we initiate an amendment to Article 4.8 of the Land Subdivision Regulations to update the regulations related to public improvements and sureties.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think Mr. Nichol seconded your motion. Yep. All right. So I am voting now. We got that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. And then our next item is an update that has come via the Urban County Council to come back and review our accessory dwelling unit text. They've asked that the Planning Commission initiate a text amendment to look at and evaluate the existing ordinance and if it's working, and to recommend some changes back to them. So the staff will be presenting more detailed text, I believe, next week at work session. And then, but at this point, we just ask that you initiate it so that the process can get started in terms of being able to send mailings for both of these amendments at the same time.
Okay. So we need.
Just clarification. So what we're being asked to do is initiate a process that will involve looking at how well it's working before we jump to figuring out changes?
Well, the.
That's what I'm hoping you're telling me, that.
The Urban County Council's General Government and Planning Committee has already reviewed the information about how it's working, and they have asked the Planning Commission to update the ordinance.
So will we get a chance to examine
Through the
that
process,
information?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you okay with making that initiation?
Yeah, I mean, just, this is 2 years old, and we've had a little bit of information about how many ADUs have been, I guess, developed or requested.
Right.
And I'm wanting to know if we're going to initiate changes. Is that based on, how much information do we have about how well it's working and why it's not working as well as we need it to be before we, I'm coming from a, don't jump to solutions till you've clearly defined that there's a problem and you know the root causes, and whether we're going to be looking at they're not happening because interest rates are too high, or they're not happening because of something in the nature of the ordinance is a problem. That's what I want to make sure we're doing.
I'm sure there's a factor associated with the financing and supply
Chain issues.
issues in terms of the price of materials these days. So I'm sure that's part of the issue in terms of people moving forward with ADUs. But we've found, and again, we presented that to the council committee, that a majority of the people who come in and talk to us, the Division of Planning is that first step, identify other issues that are keeping them from moving forward.
More like procedural issues and things that an ordinance could change, or?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think we'll talk about that next week at the work session.
Okay. Thank you. You would like to make that initiation, Ms. Worth?
To get
the process started.
I will, to start the process to ensure that we are seeing all that information before we do anything with it.
Sure.
I move that we initiate the zoning ordinance text amendment recommended by the council related to the accessory dwelling units.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second? Seconded by Mr. Pohl. Please vote. Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So the election of officers, we can't vote for ourselves, can we? Can we? I don't think we got enough to do that, though.
Yes, we do.
We do?
We have 9 members of 11 currently.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll vote twice for you.
Typically, if the commission has taken the whole slate of officers at the same time, everyone does vote. If we take them individually, oftentimes the person being elected recuses. So.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, next up, the election of officers. The current officers, chairs Larry Forster, vice chair Anthony DeMoverland, secretary Janice Meyer, parliamentarian Zach Davis. The nominating committee recommends Chair Larry Forster, vice chair Zach Davis, secretary Janice Meyer, and parliamentarian Judy Worth. So the floor is open for a motion to accept the nominating committee's recommendation. Mr. Pohl?
So moved.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. So this was Zach. The next, the delegation of secretary duties. The commission's past procedures for carrying out the secretary duties, except for signing minutes, has been to delegate that authority to the Director of Division of Planning and his staff. So I'm requesting that the commission consider taking action at this time.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second.
I
We
got
a
your back.
second. Thank you. Please vote. Okay, who's in there? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, is that, I think that's it. Yes. Ms. Wade? Ms. Wade?
Just a reminder that we are conducting all of our meetings right now in the third floor conference room because of the renovations happening in the council chamber. So next week, we'll be back here. Obviously, this is our normal spot for work session, but then throughout the first week of, and second week of August, I think we'll still be in this location, so.
Can I make a request if we have another hearing, that we get the development plans or like the tabs, like we usually, like you all have typically filled out your tabs?
Yes, that's for a zoning hearing. We do have more, the additional information related to that, but yes.
Maybe if you want to save on printing, maybe not everything, but the plans specifically are really hard to like.
To see on the screen? Okay, yeah.
And what's the story on the sinkhole?
It's not a sinkhole. Right, Doug Burton? It's a stormwater pipe collapse, and then that caused the asphalt to collapse on top of it. But they're gonna fix it. We don't really have a sinkhole under the building, so don't worry, you all are fine.
I don't want to be sitting in
It's too late now, we in here.
Yeah, we're in here.
I mean.
I work here every day, I'm not worried about it. Does that help?
Good, good. Okay.
That's it. Yes,
I-
please.
I don't like my back face. I don't like people walking in. You know, everybody don't like us. I'd rather be looking at who's coming in.
Okay, so we can talk after.
Yes,
Adjourn.
okay.
Okay.
So this meeting is adjourned.
I mean, right. I don't know that we need.